Hello, trading is closed on January 14th, 2019. My last call said that prices were likely to gap outside of Friday's range, and even though we closed near the high, I thought it was all but certain we'd promptly trade under the day's low, which we did. I also was expecting a big move. I guess that's big. I never really defined it. Certainly wasn't that big at the close, but tomorrow's open is a surrogate for today's close. And if we were to gap under this low, if that were to happen, that would be the big move I was expecting. That hasn't happened yet. Might not happen at all. During the day, MEJT said ultimately higher price it would print. We got the minimum and then we got more. Said ultimately lower price it would print. We got much more than the minimum here. Said this rally would retrace, it was false. Said a drop would retrace, it was false. Nothing new for tomorrow. People have asked me, how do you use the system? Well, when you're rallying like this, it's tempting just to go along with the flow and go along here. And when you're dropping like this, it's nice to go along with the flow and say we'll go short. System doesn't tell you exactly where to stop being long and to go short, or where to stop going short and be long. Doesn't do that, but it does warn you that going with the flow and not putting a stop is not a wise policy. It keeps you out of trades which you're destined to lose if you hold them long enough. So even if you never make any trades with the system, at least you'll reduce the chances of making a trade which will cost you money. Well, what about tomorrow? Tomorrow's pattern is the one with an early low and the late high, kind of like this one. Tends to be a positive day. Only time it isn't is if you drop sharply at the open or close in the red. So unless we drop sharply at the open or close in the red, we look for higher prices. However, if I'm reading this right, there's a very good chance we are going to drop sharply at the open. Let's go over what's good and what's not so good. All these consolidations here happening right around my dates. Again, I don't know if these dates will work or not. If they work, I'd like it, but again, they fail a number of times. But when they worked, it was kind of amazing. So this is calling this a high. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row where you rally almost all of the day and can't close over any of these highs. It's a very negative pattern. Leads to lower prices unless you invalidate it by gapping up, taking out at least this high and preferably this one. Other side of the coin is we've now gapped down 3 days straight and can't close any, and we can't close under any of the lows. It's a positive pattern, but it's invalidated if we gap down at least under this low and preferably under this one. So the commonest thing for tomorrow with these conflicting signals, commonest thing is we gap outside of the day's range. Now we've broken down from this rising wedge. It's a negative pattern. This breakout met the mark sustainability criteria. So unless this gets reversed promptly, and gapping over this top would reverse it promptly, unless that happens, we should see lower prices. We also have resistance from this moving average that's worked for a long time. Now we're trying to call the end of this ABC. That's a likely candidate, but we don't have absolute proof at this point. Now, this was the chart I had yesterday. I had good fib ratios all right at this high. If this counts right, it's easy to count this as an impulse and this as a consolidation which has completed. Now, of course, I don't know if this is the right count or not. When you have a consolidation like this, there's any number of ways to count it. But the best way to make my hypothesis fit would be if we gap down smartly tomorrow in wave 3 down, at least undercutting this low and hopefully this one before you're done. If that happens, that would be added confirmation that this count were correct. If on the other hand we don't gap down smartly, the odds favor a rally day. Doesn't have to be, but usually is. And taking out these highs destroys all my beautiful fib ratios, and you get to throw them in the garbage and come up with something else. So I view tomorrow as a day which is critical. We have all we need to start a sizable decline so long as we gap down under these and take out these lows promptly. But if we don't, we have to allow for the fact that this analysis might be wrong. So tomorrow's open is critical, and that's today's call.